Good afternoon, everybody. Father Jason here, live from the Church of the Nativity. Today, we're going to be reflecting on the third chapter of Luke as we continue our chapter by chapter Advent journey through the Gospel of Luke to Christmas tide. The third chapter of Luke has basically four sections. First is sort of, we could call it a timestamp, where the author of Luke places the story in time related to different rulers that were governing different areas around the area where Jesus and John the Baptist are living and ministering. It says, in the 15th year of the reign of Emperor Tiberius, it's the emperor of Rome, which is controlling the area that we now call Israel, Palestine, when Pontius Pilate was governor over Judea, so that's the Roman delegate that's governing Judea, and Herod was ruler of Galilee. Galilee was where Jesus grew up, and also where he starts his ministry, and where most of the apostles come from as well. And then there's a few others, but the author is placing these stories that he's going into in a specific time and place. So giving us a geographic and temporal reference for when these things are occurring. Then the next section is a description of John the Baptist, that he was in the wilderness, and compares him to Isaiah, uses words from Isaiah, that he is the voice of the one crying out in the wilderness. After that, we get samples of John the Baptist's preaching, that he was preaching for the baptism for the remission of sins and telling people to act justly. And then that he was also upsetting Herod because Herod had married his brother's wife. So we get all of that in the next section. Then there's the baptism of Jesus is actually very short. It's only two verses for that story. And then the rest of the chapter is a genealogy of Jesus. It goes through the line of Joseph back all the way to King David, and then back to the patriarchs, Moses and Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. And then he takes it all the way back to Adam. So I find it very interesting in this third chapter that we start with a contemporaneous time and spatial placement with this reference to Emperor Tiberius and Pontius Pilate and Herod. And then we end with this genealogy. From this, I think that we can consider that Luke is very much concerned with history. He's placing Jesus in a specific time and place, but also connecting him throughout history, all the way back to the origins of creation. So I think that we've seen with Luke already that origin stories are important. And then also we saw that with John the Baptist and with Jesus. And now we're also seeing that Jesus's place in time and space and his connection to the history of Israel is very important, implying that he is the fulfillment of their history in some way. Tomorrow, we're going to get into chapter 4 when Jesus begins his ministry proper, and we'll be looking at how he starts that off and how things get going for him. It's an interesting ride right from the get-go. But I hope you're enjoying these. If you have any questions or comments, I'll be posting links to this video on different social media, and you can post your questions and comments in those sections as well. Also, you can share this video around and help us spread the light of Advent through the Gospel of Luke as we go along. In the meantime, until we talk again, I want you to remember God loves you more than you can possibly imagine.